Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Magic Beans podcast. This is episode number 180, and I am Cracker. I will be your host for this episode, and I'm joined by one not particularly well-being, but he's the only one about. So thanks for toughing it out with me, Chewy.
No worries, mate. Yeah, just a bit of a summer cold. You know, it's like, oh, we're going to have some consistent days of over 25 degrees. You should probably get sick. So a bit croaky, and apologies if I miss any coughs and splutters in my editing efforts.
Yeah, love it. The virus is like, I see you have a pool there. It'd be a shame if you couldn't use it.
Exactly.
So single bean because Shorty is on an aeroplane on his way to the BSS Pro Tour. So he's playing a GP style event this weekend in Atlanta. Yeah, he's hanging out in Atlanta for a few days, and then he's heading up to Portland for next weekend for the actual Pro Tour.
Yeah, pretty cool. He's made a bit of a trip out of it. I think he's going to string like an NFL and NBA game together as part of his trip as well. Might as well. Like, if you're over there, right? Make use of it. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, go well, mate. I hope you win some matches and have a great time. So it's making the Pro Tour is awesome, and stoked for him.
Yes, I think his plan now is to just spike hard enough to be able to win invite to Worlds, which is like back in the States in January sometime. So
yeah, quick turnaround. See how Mrs. Shorty feels about that.
But I think it's enough to cover the flights. I think he'll be okay.
Yeah, that's true.
Good luck.
I think it's like top 64 or something at the PT queues him for Worlds. So
yeah,
not impossible by any stretch. So yeah, have a crack at it, mate. Go well.
All right. So a few things to talk about. I was going to say not a massive week, but more stuff than the last time we chatted. But before we chat about those things, are you up to talking about the wonderful people?
Well, I'm not dead.
Okay.
Right, so that means that I'm always happy to talk about Josh and Pat's MTG Bazaar. They are sponsors of the Magic Beans podcast and our tournament series. They are a Facebook auction page that you can find by punching in jpmtgbazaar.com.au into your browser. That'll take you straight to the Facebook page. Follow the page and you will not regret it. Every single night of the week, there are auctions and Win It Now posts. They do claim lots, they do giveaways with new sets, and they sponsor us. I wandered down to the post office at lunchtime today and posted Plunksy his commander deck that I played on stream this week. So there's one of my coughs. That's the sort of stuff that Josh and Pat do. They send us stuff for us to give away to our community just by being part of it. So absolutely community focused and quality focused, communication focused. They're the best places to buy Magic cards on the internet. So go to jpmtgbazaar.com.au and tell them that the Beans sent you.
Yeah, we played Commander on Tuesday night with all of the precons from the most recent Ixalan set. Oh, that was a lot of fun, man.
Decks are good.
The decks were really good. They feel like a real bump in power level and like quality. I was really pleased. It was good. Like everyone got to do their thing except for Shorty because he decided to cast Exquisite Blood and then die because he cast Exquisite Blood. I don't know what he thought was going to happen, but you usually need to have a plan to go along with that. It's kind of
you can't just cast that and then like hope. Right?
Well, not with two vampires in play, but
no.
Otherwise, everyone else's deck kind of popped off to some degree.
Yeah, it's it was interesting. The fish deck got big, man.
I played the dinosaur deck and my creatures were basically the smallest. I was like, hang on a minute.
Yeah.
This isn't right.
And I was able to pump out with the Pirates deck. Like I had multiple like 5/5 flyers and then, just started stealing people's stuff. Like it was pretty cool. Yeah.
Big value. So if you didn't catch it, you can go to our YouTube, check it out. The website is the best place to get the links for all those things. But otherwise, just Magic Beans cast everywhere. I'll probably have links in the show notes if I remember to put links in the show notes.
Hey, Cracker, you should put links in the show notes.
Thanks. I'll do that later.
Yeah, good.
So we had banner restricted this week.
And, the reason I got a cold is I just hoped to get my voice to the level that I might actually get to read the B&R announcement. But the reality is I'm still a very long way off. So,
well, the problem is if you get to that level, then it's probably inconsistent in terms of the actual volume you can talk at.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And no one wants to listen to a podcast where the dude reading the announcement has like blowouts. So, yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. They can be pretty funny.
Yeah, true.
So, all right, bunch of formats. Let's just quickly whip through the first few. Standard, no changes. Legacy, vintage, no changes. No surprises. Pauper, Swift Spear is banned. There's a whole nother announcement page video thing. They go deep on Pauper, man. Like deeper than any other format, it seems like. It's kind of wild.
I think they've got a really entrenched community.
They really do.
Yeah.
So, Mono Red has been the best deck there for a long time because you get to play cards like Fire Blast.
Yeah.
Because, that should be a common. That's all I know about Pauper. Cool. I'm sure if you're a fan, you're either thrilled or depressed. I don't know. Have fun with your cards. And then we've got some formats that we do play or we are interested in. So Pioneer, Khan, the Great Creator, is banned. Geological Appraiser is banned, and Smuggler's Copter is unbanned.
Unbannings don't happen very often.
They don't. So we did the cast. Shorty and I did it a couple of weeks ago, where we were talking about the Geological Appraiser combo decks and how, we called it they fixed Cascade, and the fact that they in fact did not fix Cascade with Discover. And, it was a turn 3 combo deck. Like just straight up win the game. Was actually very unlikely to fizzle. Very impressive. Really cool to watch, but I imagine that would get tiring very fast. So
absolutely.
Good choice. There's also still the Quintorius combo, which is a very similar kind of thing, but it's a Planeswalker. So has a couple more options to counter it. It also costs 5 instead of 4, so you get extra turns. And you can do things like needle it so that they can't do it, so you can kind of get that down early. It's just, you don't have to have either a removal or a counter spell on turn 3 sitting there. You kind of have a couple more options. Not a lot of not more time specifically. Like once they start chaining off, if you have no way of interacting, you're dead. But it's an extra turn, which in Pioneer is a lot. It's a quick format. There's a lot that can happen. Absolutely.
And do you think, and this might be a little tinfoil hat, but Quintorius is the we've only got one Planeswalker per set now. Quintorius is that. Do you think it's a little bit of, it's our marquee card, let's maybe give it a bit more time in the sun because more self-sets? Or
I think it was in
that comes into
standard. It might have been more along those lines. We've definitely seen things like that before with I think remember there was Emrakul that everyone thought should have been banned for a long time and just wasn't because she was literally the box art and stuff like that. Yeah. So that, there's been... Wizards will never say that, hey, we're not doing this because of this reason, but it always seems pretty obvious when that's happening. This time, I don't think it's true. That version of the deck seems worse.
Yeah.
Its B plan is not as good as the Appraiser B plan, which was just a little more consistent. You could just,
I think that's important too. Sometimes combo decks can be miserable to play against, but that doesn't mean combo decks shouldn't exist. Combo is, has been part of Magic for a really long time. Channel and Fireball or Hatred decks, all the way back in the 90s were doing that right through to, Storm and I played combo decks. Reanimator is effectively a combo deck. So it's, we'll go to Dragon and Animate Dead and things like that. So there's always been combo decks. They're a viable way to play the game. And if you don't like them, then, don't play them, but you can't get mad at other people if they're playing them. Not everyone likes mono red or control either, right? So it's, having a combo deck that exists, I think is good for the health of a non-rotating format.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. Now, like Pioneer's actually been pretty heavy in combo decks, and it's had multiple bans to stop combos. So there was the Felidar Sahili combo that was around for a while. There was also the Inverter of Truth, then Dig Through Time into Thassa's Oracle combo. There was the Kethis combo. There's been a lot, and because it was a smaller card pool, it made them
Quite
overly strong. But there's still Lotus Field. Lotus Field is still very much a combo deck in the way that plays out.
Oh, 100%,
so,
yeah.
Yeah. You could even say that Greasefang's not really combo, but it's a high synergy kind of deck. But there's a lot there. I mean, even Khan the Great Creator was a combo piece in the mono green deck.
Yeah, what was that?
There's you had to get two. You've got the I forget the 2-mana one that you can crew with a Heart of Kieran was one of them, and you sacrifice your things, and then there was a way that when Khan died, it came back, and I don't know, there was a couple of different weird things, but it was a convoluted combo that you could play out of your sideboard. So maybe we should talk about Khan.
Khan the Great. Yeah, I've cast a few Khans over the journey, but not actually in Pioneer. Oh, maybe I might have played like the mono brown deck in early Pioneer.
Sure.
But certainly not like the mono green, thing that's close to the, no, I've probably played it in Explorer more than Pioneer, actually. But yeah, it's a really powerful thing. It lets you, have this like toolbox of silver bullets plus a combo win, plus it turns off your opponent's artifacts, and it just sort of became ubiquitous with the format. The mono green decks were always there, and when you've got Nykthos and things that have got 3 green pips in them that also happen to be, nice defensive 4/4s, then it was easy to keep your Planeswalker alive, and then you could just go and get, like, the biggest artifact thing because you had all of this mana.
You just could get a Leveler or something like that.
Yeah, exactly, right? The Cityscape Leveler, or, you could, you're casting Emrakuls out of your main deck if that's where the format's at the time, and, it just... There was a really long time where that was like the best deck, and everything in Pioneer was about the mono green deck, and we've seen some ebbs and flows of that. Absolutely, there's been times where the mono green deck's been probably solidly tier 2, right through to it being the best deck in the format at any given time, and I that's why I find this being like an interesting banning. So it's at the height of its power, I can understand the banning, but, a month later, it could be, oh, you're playing mono green. Like, we've all moved on from that. We're doing other things now and you're losing. So, and, the appraiser decks, they saw a forest on the other side of the table and just, started signing the match slip 2-0, right? So,
yeah.
It's like really weak to combo decks and things like that. So, it's a really interesting ban. I understand from a play pattern perspective and, just how, you would always need to be prepared to play the mono green deck, to play that format. But I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing. Like, what's their justification for banning Khan?
They've got a bunch. They do talk about the fact that it's on the decline at the moment, but just that its range is so broad. And mono green basically squeezed out kind of all the other mid-range decks. Everything else, like the Gruul mid-range, was just like a worse version. And so the other thing with Khan being present is that anytime an artifact gets printed, there's this like cloud over what impact it's going to have in, Pioneer, in Modern as well.
That's a really valid point.
It's still highly played there. So there's a couple of things.
It's a little bit like the human argument, a year or two ago in Modern, where it's like, the humans deck's just going to keep getting better because they're just going to keep printing them. So yeah, I completely understand that when you've got something that's tribal or typal like that, and then but they're always going to print artifacts.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. So I think that's one of the reasons, and I think when they haven't done anything for like 18 months in terms of bans. They went through a period where they were doing stuff almost on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, and certainly
they
monthly
declared
for
that
a while.
at the start of
they
the Pioneer
did. They
format,
absolutely
right?
did.
Yeah.
And I really liked that approach. I thought it was a really clever way of kind of getting it in control, and there was some unbans at the time as well. I think that if you're going to take a look at the format and you've identified that these Discover cards are busted and we need to do something, right? This is one of the quickest bans of a card ever, I think you'll find. From release to banning, it's right up there. Taking a look at something else that's been historically problematic and futurely problematic, like Carney is a fair card, but also just not. Like it's doing things on a weird level that it kind of breaks parity on where it kind of shouldn't. Not to the level of free spells in Modern, and we'll chat about that obviously in a second, but there's a bunch going on that it does that I think just isn't necessarily the most fun or healthiest gameplay. So if you've identified that it's problematic and you're going to make a swing at the format and do some things, then I think this is an excellent change. I think it makes sense because even though it's on the downtick now, like you said, the Appraiser deck literally just farmed mono green because it couldn't kill your creature by turn 3, so you just won. But then if you also identify that, I really think that unbanning Smuggler's Copter is a good idea, then you have to hit Khan. Because otherwise you just can't. Smuggler's Copter is an unplayable card in the format.
If Khan's around, yeah.
Correct. Yeah, you just can't do it. You can't crew. So you can't do anything with it.
Which makes you wonder why it's been on the ban list for this long with Khan's around. Like, what harm would it have done?
Well, there was just no value or reason to unban it either. Like, I think that if you're going to unban a card, there's two thoughts here, right? One is either this will be good for the diversity of the format. This does a thing that previously was problematic when, 3-4 years ago, when Pioneer was created, it was too strong. We were right on the back of it coming out of Standard where,
it was really dominant.
Yeah. So it wasn't Rakdos, it was the Mardu vehicles, right?
Yeah,
just
any
owns
deck,
that
basically.
format. It just that deck in particular just owns the format. I think people were kind of over it, and then you just had better, cheaper options for creatures and crew costs and things inside Pioneer, and everyone was just like, okay, it made sense at the time. But now looking at the timing, I think it makes sense. Like, I don't think, is it going to be an excellent card? Absolutely. Is it potentially going to be a problem? Maybe. We've got a lot of really cheap interaction, and I think that's one of the things that a lot of people have complained about in Pioneer is that it's been 2 ships and a night. It's like, you do your thing, I'll do my thing, we'll see who wins. Well, you can't do that with Looter Scooter. Like, you have to be able to interact, but there's just a million different ways you can do that. Every colour has a way to deal with either a crewed or uncrewed copter. So I think that that's, a really good spot to be. And if you're wanting to promote interaction between decks, then giving everyone the opportunity to play that, right? That's a really good tool to kind of just unlock.
Yeah, I guess there's a little bit of, historic trauma with Looter Scooter that we're a bit nervous about because, do you remember there was I can't remember if it was a GP or a PT where like 14 of the top 16 decks all had 4 copies of Smuggler's Copter.
Yeah.
Right. So, and that, it was banned, a couple of weeks later and everybody went, that needed to happen. There's except for maybe Lotus Field, like I can't really think of a tier deck that couldn't play it. Spirits probably doesn't want to play it, but the Greasefang, absolutely jamming that thing in there. That's that's
for sure.
A great card for Greasefang. The other mid-range decks that, Khan, the vacuum of Khan leaving the mono green deck would fill. Looter Scooter is the obvious choice for those. Like if you've got like your Rakdos mid-range deck where you want to be able to loot away excess lands and you're drawing cards with Sheoldred in play and things, like it does a lot. I'm worried about it being just everywhere, and like you said, everybody's got the ability to cast Fatal Push or whatever, but are they making one call here, removing Khan to promote diversity? Excuse me. But then introducing Smuggler's Copter that's then going to hinder that diversity. I don't know. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. That's the question that I've got. And I'm not sure which way it's going to go. So I think we need to watch that pretty closely, I think.
Agreed. I also think that Khan disappearing doesn't kill Mono Green, incidentally. Like, I think it's still...
Nykthos is still huge, right? Like,
yes. Storm the Festival is still a stupid card. You still get Kiora. You still got other ways to untap. So, you can still just absolutely pop off with the devotion thing. So, is it worse? Yeah. Do you have to play a real sideboard now? Yeah. Unlucky. But, it's... I think that Mono Green, if that's kind of the thing you are a rusted on player on, your whole deck hasn't been killed from underneath you. So I think in terms of like that, it's a good ban, and it doesn't really hurt anything else.
No other deck really plays Khan, really. No other tier deck, I guess.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, correct. And it means that you can play things like Scissors again. You can play Ensoul Artifact.
Yeah, well, that's the other side of it. Like, you think
nonsense
about Khan as, going and getting, sideboard pieces and things like that, and, that combo element of it, but it's also a Stony Silence, which...
Yeah, just banned everyone else's artifacts.
Yeah, so that's... if Khan didn't do that, if it didn't have that static ability...
No one would play it.
It would be a much worse card, yeah, absolutely.
It would be a much worse card.
I've played plenty of Khan in Modern.
Yeah.
And, it's... sometimes you just, like... You just play it and you uptick it because you just want it to live because it's turning off their cranial plating and that's all you want to do, right? So,
yep, for sure.
You down ticking it to go and get something means that it dies on board. So, yeah, you just want that thing to live as long as possible.
Good luck, Hammer decks, trying to beat a Khan. So, I'm excited. We've got the Atlanta RC coming up, which is not the event Shorty's going to. That one is not this weekend, but the following weekend. And that's going to be a big pioneer tournament. A lot of pros or ex-pros, I don't know what you call them now. A lot of big-name Magic players will be there. And it'll be really interesting to see what they all come up with in light of these changes. So I fully expect the Scooter will be heavily overrepresented. Right? Because one of the other decks that we haven't talked about that this is a phenomenal fit for is Bin Chickens. Right?
Oh, yeah.
It plays,
absolutely.
Is it Phoenix plays just a stack of cheap interaction? Like, it just played all of those shocks and, everything that it could because it needed to just cast 3 cheap spells to bring back its Phoenixes. So it really gains that value if everyone's curve gets lower to be able to crew the Scooter. Then the interaction gets better for that deck, and then you've got a really clean discard outlet. So I think that the stock for Phoenix, which was already going up, I think just keeps on going. So I expect that to be super highly played. So I hope that people don't take too much stock in effectively the first week's results, the first big event, because people really like Smuggler's Copter. It's a fun card to play with.
Oh,
it gives you a lot of agency, a lot of choices.
Absolutely, and it's a good offense and defensive card.
Yep.
It says whenever it attacks all blocks.
Sure does.
You're getting your value out of it. You can crew it off literally anything, basically, and anything with a single point of power, and it's happening. And so it's not uncommon for this thing to, be attacking on turn 3 and starting to fuel whatever engine it is that you're, And I mean, also just an evasive 3/3, right?
Yeah, it's real good.
As a plan B for a Grease Fiend deck. It's just like, okay, they've got a Leyline of the Void. My Pahelians are never going to come out. And it's just like, well, my my chariots and copters are just gonna like out mid-range you then, because you've put all your sideboard effort into my graveyard, but now my plan B just got better. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
As someone who's invested a lot of time and effort trying to flip a card into a 3/3, actually a 3/1. 3/2, yeah. You can just crew it with the.
Have you ever flipped?
Yeah, I have. I definitely have. But now you've got a thing you can do with your unflipped delvers. You can still turn them into 3 power flying creatures.
Do you know what you're going to do though? You're going to draw the spell off the top of your deck,
yeah,
and then reveal the land underneath it every time, though, right?
Yeah, probably.
That's how it works. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Plus, you can play the battle bus. That makes me blow the
I don't know how I feel about that. That's from the Universes Beyond.
It's a secret lair.
Secret lair, yeah, where they did the Fortnite crossover, right? Yeah.
Correct. And Plunks pointed out in the Pioneer channel tonight that Copter went from $1 to $13.
Wow.
So I hope you had them or don't need them. All right.
I've got one in the queue.
Yeah, okay. It's a good spot for it.
Hmm.
So, next format. Modern. Much
No changes,
speculation.
okay.
Yeah, much. Oh, can you imagine? Oh, man. Much speculation what was going to happen in Modern, particularly after the announcement of the announcement. And these are actually the two cards I thought were going to get banned, just quietly.
I definitely
talking to
thought
Chris.
the first one was. I'm not surprised that that Beanstalk got banned, but also I wouldn't have been surprised if it didn't at the same time. So
yeah, Fury is banned and Up the Beanstalk is banned. So they identified that, they did a stream a week or so ago talking about the fact that there were some cards that effectively banned 1 toughness creatures from the format, and there's basically 2 cards that do that. One is Fury and the other is the Bowmasters. But one of them can attack for 8 on turn 2. And one of them you can't cast until turn 2. So there's orders of magnitude difference there.
I actually lost a winning in the top 8 against the 4-color Omnath deck, where in game 3 they're on the play, and their
Fury
was
Ephemerate?
Yeah, Ephemerate, Fury, Mountain, cards that they were never going to cast. And they went all in, and I lost. They ended up drawing like a couple of soft counters, like Remand.
Sure.
That bought them turns, and I just lost to a turn 1 Fury.
You don't need many turns.
No.
3, in fact. 3 is enough.
Like, why does it have double strike?
I don't know. So,
Crazy.
that in conjunction with Not Dead After All, which puts a +1/+1 counter on it, it makes it particularly nutty. So, Rack Sack, well, they're...
Scam.
Yeah. Has been I don't know if it's always been the best deck, but it's been tier 1 for a long time. Ever since these cards
It's been the most played deck. Definitely.
It's definitely been the most played deck. So there's been a lot of people calling for Fury bans and Grief bans as well.
And they could have absolutely banned both, but I think that by banning one, they have to go to they can either combo with only 4 cards in their deck, or they have to move away from red to white and play Solitude. Mm-hmm. But, Solitude only removes 1 creature. You can't play Infect, you can't play Humans, you can barely play Merfolk, right? Any sort of curve-out creature deck in Modern was just completely unplayable with the prevalence of Fury in the format. Because, that plus Not Dead After All, you have to have a lot of toughness of creatures to live through a
Plague Wings.
Yeah, that leaves a 3/3 double striker behind, right?
Yeah.
And, you're happy to 2 for 1 yourself when you're, it's a 4 for 2, Pretty much. So, I mentioned Humans earlier. Humans have been pretty much stone unplayable for a while now with Fury, because you can't.
I don't know. That's just Fury's fault, just quietly, but it certainly didn't
Fury
help.
certainly hasn't helped, right? Like you can't go Noble Hierarch into Thalia into whatever, because like Fury just comes down and kills all of the things.
Because it's a creature and it doesn't care that you've got a Thalia in play.
Exactly. So it's and the human sex probably wants to play Solitude, at least in the sideboard anyway. But if those decks go to black-white with and go from Fury to
Ephemerate? Or to Solitude.
Is Solitude the white one?
Yes.
Yeah, I was just, in my mind, I'm like, am I been saying the name of the blue one?
No. That's that's the blue one, which I don't
That's the blue
right
one,
now.
yeah.
Subtlety. They both start with S.
Yeah. So they can move, but, again, that's not as impactful. And it's, it doesn't have a double strike body.
It doesn't win as fast. That's the real difference.
Right. Yeah.
Is that...
Well, it can't kill as many creatures either.
Well, not even that. Like, there have been plenty of games that I have seen where people are playing Scam, and to an empty board on the play, they will just turn one Fury, put it into play.
That is the correct thing to do. Absolutely.
Yeah, most of the time it is just correct. So, I think it'll be really interesting to see the changes. It certainly shifts the deck mostly away. I don't know if it kills it, but it also... It also kind of soft nerfs Grief. And honestly...
A little bit, yeah.
Grief kind of annoyed me more in some ways. Mostly because I never play creature decks. So, apart from the clock side of it, I never felt like I was getting horrendously blown out by Fury. But the more I think about it and, listen to other people talk about it and kind of get different opinions, I think it is probably the correct thing to do. So getting double griefed is super annoying, but you can still draw out of it.
The last time I played against the Scam deck was like the side event of the RCQ thing in Melbourne a little while ago. So I haven't played Modern for a hot minute, but I got double griefed, and the beauty of Modern is that I had good cards in my deck because the power level's high, and I was able to I just dismembered the grief because I drew that on turn 2, and then I was able to then just leverage the cards off the top of my deck because lands are often also spells, and I'm able to I was able to win that game even though I got turn 1 double griefed.
Yeah.
So but
exactly.
a turn 1 double Fury is a lot harder to beat.
Well, yeah, that's right. Because the Scam decks kind of often ran out of things to do. They just ran out of mana. Well, they didn't run out of mana. They just ran out of ways to spend their mana effectively because they were playing this kind of super low to the ground opener. And you've dedicated so much of your deck to be able to have those kind of busted starts. But it's kind of combo-esque in that way where you're leaning real hard on that. And if you've got half of it and the better clock taken away, then I think it's going to be really interesting to see. You kind of have to fight on the cardboard axis rather than the clock axis, which is something that most decks in Modern are pretty comfortable doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everyone's kind of got their own engines that they get up and going.
Yeah, and I like still having grief in the format for things like Living End. I think it's that is losing grief from Living End would definitely hurt that archetype. So, and it's kind of done nothing wrong. It's a good deck and it puts up results and things. But, but it's not. Nobody's calling for Living End to be banned.
I don't know. Right? Some people definitely do.
Well, nobody who's sensible.
No. So. I guess that, I don't know. To me, the whole free spell thing is still just super problematic. Just in general. At a principle.
The pitch elementals?
Pitch elementals. Force negation. Yes.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Absolutely a mistake. And the, I think if they had their time again, they would have, done things a little differently.
Yeah, they would have made them cost 3.
Yeah. Probably.
So, yeah, and then the other card that got banned is Up the Beanstalk.
Yeah,
So-
which is, like, if you told me, when this card was printed, that this would be too good for Modern, I might not have laughed at you, but I would have raised an eyebrow and would have asked for more information, I guess. So,
Yeah.
this is that sort of card. And I've played Up the Beanstalk quite a bit in Standard, and it's good. So, and I'm casting, 1 mana Oblivion Rings and drawing cards off it, and it's a lot more efficient to do that in Modern with the Fetch Shock meta base, and then if you're casting Fury, then you can draw a card, and so it makes sense in the context of Modern that this thing is too cheap, too easy to cast, and really, really powerful.
Yeah, I think once you started getting people cascading into it, its days were numbered.
Yeah.
There's just too many ways to take advantage of it. I think that if it didn't cantrip, if it didn't draw a card when you cast it,
Yes.
it would actually be fine.
Yeah.
I think that if that was the nerf that got applied, then it would be a really good card, but not a ban-worthy card. But the fact that it immediately replaces itself is kind of nuts. So there's just such little downside. It's like when people finally realize that just playing Bauble in most decks that could cast it just makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Mishra's Bauble, it means your deck is 56 cards instead. Or Manamorphose was another one that should have probably been played in more decks than it was. Like, it did so many things. That's the same with, Probe. Like, Probe was free. But the fact that, like, if it was 2 life, look at your opponent's hand, it wouldn't have been banned. Because that's a terrible card. You can play Peak. Right. You can play Peak in Modern. You can play single blue, in sorcery, look at your opponent's hand. That is the thing you're allowed to do. There's a reason that no one does it. But the fact that it draws you a card...
Don't play Peak in Modern, kids.
Do not play Peak in Modern.
But yeah, exactly. It replaces itself.
Yeah.
It triggers things like the Arclight Phoenix. It also had synergies with like Death Shadow.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
No. Let's... Okay. If we're talking about free things, Phyrexian Mana, another big mistake. Yeah. One they've mostly fixed. There's only a couple left now with Gutshot and Dismember. I think they're the only ones that you've still got.
Like, kill your thing for 1 mana and 4 life. Like, that's like totally it's a fine. Worse snuff out, right?
Yeah.
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 Like, it costs more and it kills less than snuff out. So, yeah.
Yes, correct. So, good bans. I think that these are good changes. I think it will shake up. Obviously, I'm thinking more, obviously we spoke about, Scam a lot, but in terms of 4-color, you can still just play Ring in 4-color. There's just nothing stopping you. And that's a real value engine that, again, the deck is nerfed, the deck isn't killed.
Yeah, and bringing something down a peg is, in my opinion, the better option than completely removing it from the format. Like, for a number of reasons. Like, the fact, and of course, like the fact that people have spent hundreds or more dollars, investing in a deck to have their investment, pulled out from under them overnight is leaves a bit of bad taste in people's mouths, obviously. Mm-hmm. So to have their deck still playable without it being, by removing a card or two, and then they just have to innovate, right? So, for the 4-color decks, you just go, okay, well, what were we doing before Up the Beanstalk?
They're playing the One Ring, and people wanted the Ring banned. So,
yeah, right. So,
like this, there's always the best thing to be doing.
Yep.
And
I just think because something's the best thing doesn't mean it should be banned.
Correct. That is correct. But I like this approach where, again, perhaps Beanstalk didn't need to be banned. There's an argument to be made that with getting rid of Fury, which was not in every 4-color deck, but certainly in a lot of them, that perhaps that's enough of a edge off the overall consistency and power of that deck that you can just leave it untouched. But at the same time, if you're making changes and you've identified that it's, not doing the thing you want, then now is a good time to, make that change and kind of bring down 2 of the better decks in Modern
which hopefully opens up a bit more space, because one of the things that attracted us to Modern was like you could kind of play whatever you wanted. Yeah. And like, and the glory days for me was when we would get to, Games Portal on like a Tuesday night or whenever it was, and there'll be like 25 decks in the room, and there'd be 23 different decks, right? Like, and that was awesome. And that's what Modern's about. It's just like, oh, this has got an 8% share of the metagame. It's the most played deck. And it's just like 8%, right? Like that. It's not 20, 25 or 50%. So, whereas the Fury scam decks were, absolutely approaching those problematic numbers.
Yes. So the real winners out of this, the real card that I think everyone's just most pleased we're going to get to see more of, is Ragavan.
Ragavan's back on the menu, boys.
Just the unsung hero of Modern. Legitimately, I think Murktide gets better.
Yeah, I think Murktide sort of shuffles to the top of the list here.
It's still not the best deck. There's still just a lot of stuff that like is equivalent to or better than, like it's always that rock, paper, scissors. But like, if Murktide, I know people hate playing against counter spells, but Murktide is the fairest kind of Magic in a lot of different ways, right?
Yep.
You're just playing a threat and protecting it, and then playing another threat and protecting it. And whether you protect, I know people really hate the spells being countered. I don't get it. No, mostly because I'm doing the countering. But like,
I actually enjoy playing against counterspell decks because it is challenging. If, you talked about ships in the night when we talked about Pioneer, right? Yep. It's just like, if I'm just going to play my cards and you're going to play your cards and we smash them into each other and see who wins, like that's not super fun. No, when you like, boring, I'm oversimplifying it, absolutely. But yeah, it's just like, oh yeah, okay, you drew your combo before me, or you did this, or I did that. And like, it takes away so much of the gamesmanship element of it. So
yeah,
if I know that you're sat on, a Remand or a Mana Leak, I'm playing off curve. I'm, prioritizing my threats. I'm trying to do things at specific timings in yours or my turn to, create windows for me to, get a foothold and win the game. And look, sometimes you lose, but when you win, it's really rewarding, right? So yes, Murktide's very, very good, but it's not like it's unbeatable. And I think people just, I don't know, like, there's a song lyric that just comes to, I don't know, maybe it's the pseudoephedrine that I've been pumping into my body.
Yeah, totally.
But there's a song lyric by a band called AFI, and it's talking about like being stuck in a rut, and he said he's going to run head down into a wall just to see his blood run faster, right? That's what I feel like people do with counterspell decks. They're just like, I'm just going to play my best thing every turn and hope that you don't have a counterspell.
Yeah.
And then they get salty that their best thing got countered, rather than playing the thing that's not their best thing, and you either win with the thing that's not the best thing, or they counter that and creates a window for your other thing. So
plus, they don't have a million. And
exactly
the way that people feel about counterspells is how I feel about Leyline Binding.
Well,
because that card is stupid.
Leyline Binding is, well, in some ways it is a counterspell. Like Terror is also a counterspell, right?
Yeah, it's a removal. Exactly.
Yeah, it's blue's removal. Leyline Binding shouldn't have flash. I guess is the like if I was to change anything, removing flash from that would make it a much more balanced Magic card. So
agreed.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm excited, man. I'm really keen to see what comes out of the RC. I'm keen to see how Pioneer shakes out and what people can do with Smuggler's Copter. I think it'll be really cool to, at least try it, right? And if it becomes a problem, then, hey, there's always the option to ban again. The other thing they did say in the announcement, actually, which we haven't touched on, is that they made this shift a little while ago, earlier in this year, where they said there's going to be one ban window per year.
Yes.
And everyone kind of freaked out about that. And they clarified that the ban window is actually specifically for standard, right? And in the other older formats, they're much more flexible and they're more willing to make adjustments in that kind of 2 to 3 weeks post set release. Is still the windows they're trying to work towards. But
and that's what we've seen with the Appraiser, right?
Correct. And I think that's a really great decision. Listening to the feedback, thinking about it some more. Look, bans are really difficult. And I think that giving themselves more chances to get things right is just a good choice. I also understand that there's a real cost in banning things. So you don't want to make it where it was like early days of Pioneer where it's every week. Now that, it's a much more established kind of thing. But I think that this is a really good step. Will it be perfect? Probably not. Is it the end game? Probably not. That's okay, because we'll get there.
Well, yeah. There's maybe I'm getting more philosophical song lyrics and all sorts now, but now I've got little pearls of wisdom. And this is a thing we see in like politics and strategies and policies, in organizations and governments where people get so fixated on perfect they can't accept better. Right?
Yes.
So don't let perfect get in the way of better. And this is a step towards better. And is it going to be perfect? Probably never. Right? So, but this is better than it was, and this is better than them doing nothing.
Exactly. So, the last couple of days, we've got new cards. I'm shocked that
Escape from Tarkov. Murder at Karlov Manor. Yes.
Murders at Karlov Manor. So this is going to be interesting. And by interesting, I mean confusing, because you were confused just before we hit record as to what cards were and weren't in the set. This is being released as MKM, so Murders at Karlov Manor, and also Clue. So Clue is going to play out more like a jumpstart from what I understand, and there's going to be a couple of different ways you can actually win the game. So it's not part of the main set. It won't be legal in standard or anything else. It'll be legal in like Legacy, Vintage, and Commander, like those supplemental products are, but it certainly isn't going through the standard Pioneer Modern channels. So there are cards that you will see where they've got, in the set symbol, a little dagger. The dagger is Murders at Karlov Manor. That is the main set. Those are the cards you will be seeing everywhere. And then there's the cards with a little C for the Clue symbol. And that includes, Steam Vents and Hallowed Fountain are some of the cards we've seen so far, including Commander Mustard, Senator Peacock. So this is full-on Clue.
Yeah, Cluedo. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's Senator Peacock in the dining room with the lead pipe. Right? That's literally what we're doing. Yep.
That's exactly. So I don't know how the actual thing will play out. It's some Magic variant. It's not an actual board game like the original. It's to mix. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how that works. Jumpstart was actually kind of fun, man. We played.
Yeah, I played a little bit of Jumpstart. It was very
cool. It was a good way of just doing a quick limited kind of format. But there are some cards that have been
there's some cards.
previewed.
There's some cards here I'm actually pretty excited about.
Yeah, because oh my god.
Yeah, it's Lightning Helix. So I've cast a lot of Lightning Helix in standard when it was in standard. There was there's a red white aggressive deck that Jen played quite a lot. I played like the Firemane Angel deck. I played like my own sort of red white blue Niv Mizzet deck that missed my winning in to top 8 states with one time that had Electrolyze and Lightning Helix in it. That was pretty fun. This card's great. So if you like new to Magic Cracker and you don't know what Lightning Helix is, like what's the text on this card?
It is red-white for an instant, and it says Lightning Helix deals 3 damage to any target, and you gain 3 life. So they took...
It's like the perfect Magic card.
They took Lightning Bolt and Healing Salve and then smushed it together.
Absolutely. It's... So the only thing we're really missing is, if we're thinking about those original 1-mana spells...
Ancestral?
Lightning Bolt and Ancestral Recall together, right?
Oh,
like
my
blue,
goodness.
red, instant, bolt something, draw 3, right?
That's also known as Cracker's Invitational.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That's what I build out of Worlds.
Absolutely. So Lightning Helix is amazing. It's it's played in the sideboard of burn decks in Modern for like the mirror matches and things. It has been put on many Isochron scepters.
Oh yeah.
It's
lost a little
Sunforger.
It's lost a little favor in the last few years, but it's got fantastic precedent. You're going to see this card everywhere moving forward.
Yeah,
for the next 3 years, in fact, because that's how long stats stay in standard. So we thought we'd have a look. We've got a bunch of cards. There's some ones that kind of jump out immediately that we thought, hey, look, why not have a quick chat about some? We weren't sure how long we'd go. We talked for nearly an hour already because that's how we do. But Shock is back. Shorty is very excited about all these things. He's going to play Boros Beatdown because that's
Shock,
what
Lightning Helix.
You were talking about Aurelia before.
Aurelia seems really good. I think Aurelia might almost be good enough to be like the the dragon of the set.
Okay.
5 mana 4/4 vigilance flying haste. Whenever a player attacks with 3 or more creatures, you draw a card. Whenever a player with 5 or more, whenever a player attacks with 5 or more creatures, Aurelia deals 3 damage at Lightning Helix or something. So, I think if you're activating second clause, you pretty much won the game. But I think this is a top end of some sort of go wide deck, and we've got things like it's not timely reinforcements. It's a flash creature that it makes a 1/1 and then it's a 1/1 with whatever that is in standard. Attacking with 3 creatures and drawing a card is something that's going to trigger fairly easily in standard at the moment, I think. And a 5 mana 4/4 vigilance haste flyer that's a banger. That's pretty good.
So I agree with all of those statements. And one other thing, it's whenever a player. So if they attack you with 3 creatures, it triggers. If they attack you with 5 creatures, it triggers. So it's not just whenever you attack. So if she's in the battlefield, they are not incentivized to attack you with a lot of stuff, which plays really well into the fact that you've now got a 4/4 in play, because one of the ways you beat big creatures is to go wide around it. So this is very.
It's actually really on theme with Aurelia,
Aurelia.
The Aurelia's like previous versions where she does like attack and defense. That's her jam.
Yeah.
She's a 2-way runner in that sense. So, this is a really.
It's a good version of her.
A great version of it. There's an elegance to it. I really like it.
And it also does say each opponent. So Aurelia, the law above, deals 3 damage to each of your opponents and you gain 3 life. So little tip of the hat to Commander there, because of course there has to be. And so if you're a Boros fan, it's another one to have a look at for the Commander slot there.
Absolutely.
Speaking of big old mythics, well, she's a rare, but this is a mythic. Rakdos, Patron of Chaos. So it is 4 black-red for a 6/6, flying trample, a legendary creature demon. At the beginning of your end step, target opponent may sacrifice 2 non-land, non-token permanents. If they don't, you draw 2 cards. So Punisher effects are usually not great, but I don't know, man. This is a big boy, and if it's real cardboard they're getting rid of. Non-land, non-permanents. So there's no sacking your token. Yeah, sorry, non-land, non-tokens. Yes.
You're not sacking your map tokens or whatever you might be doing. So
correct.
Yeah, or your clues from this set. So this is massive. Probably huge. I don't know whether it'll have too much of an effect on standard, but this is a card I want to open in draft every day of the week.
Yeah, sure.
Like I want this at the pre-release, right?
Yeah, I mean, you want to open Mythics pretty much every time, but yes.
Well, Mythics are kind of like they're either the best card or the worst card in your deck in Limited, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
So, yeah, very, very powerful. And look, 6 mana, 6/6 flying trample, like, you're playing that anyway.
Yeah.
And, it might come in, as a 1 or a 2 of in standard, potentially as well. I really like Gleaming Gear Drake.
Yeah, that was one I wanted to talk about too.
Yeah, I thought you might. This might make it into my Joy Recommender deck, honestly. Mm-hmm. So it's blue and a red for a 1/1 artifact creature Drake with flying, and when it enters the battlefield, investigate, which means you make a clue. And then whenever you sacrifice an artifact, put a +1/+1 counter on it. So it's you can sacrifice treasures.
Mm-hmm.
You can,
blood tokens, map tokens, clue tokens.
Like this thing can get big pretty quickly, and yeah. So it just turns into it's a cheap threat that you can play and potentially protect. But yeah, it's a bit of a lightning rod probably, but it's pretty powerful if it manages to get out of range.
Yeah, and you just stack them up, cast it, have a bunch of things ready to go. Fire it off, absolutely. make it big real fast, get it out of lightning helix range, hopefully. So yeah, there was one other card that I saw. Look, there's a bunch, and obviously once we get the full set, we'll do the rules and we'll go through the set mechanics and all that sort of stuff. I have noticed there's basic land cycling in here. As you said, there's clue tokens, which makes sense given this is a murder mystery kind of deal. But there was just a removal spell, not on my watch. 1 and a white, instant, exile target attacking creature.
Seems pretty good.
It's an uncommon. That's just a real clean answer, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not Sunlance or anything like that, It's not even, the one where you tuck it on the bottom or put it on top or whatever. It's just, nope, gone. So, Boros, man, getting a buff.
Yeah, well, demand answers. That's an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice an artifact, or discard a card, draw 2 cards as an instant as well. Mm-hmm. We've seen that effect a lot, but, this is a slightly different take on it, like sacking an artifact or discarding a card.
Yeah.
There's been black versions that say sacrifice a creature or an artifact.
Yep.
Where, this one's got a slightly different take on it, and it seems pretty powerful as well. So, yeah, very interesting.
Yes. And just for good measure, Crashing Footfalls is it's printed as a
different set symbol again.
Special guests card. So I'm thinking this is kind of more like the list or something along those lines, where it's like the bonus sheet,
right? But
Crashing Footfalls. So good luck in draft. I hope you open this and the people don't cast it against you.
You feel pretty smart if you suspend that on turn 1 in Limited, that is for sure.
You really do. And some cool art treatments as well. There's a bunch of
beautiful, yeah. The portfolio art, the showcase art kind of looks like a dossier or a portfolio, like a file that a detective would have, and it's in typewriter looking text. It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. And some of them have got hidden ink, so you can only see it text on the card, just flavor text, obviously not rules text or anything, but you can only see it as you turn it certain ways and all that kind of stuff.
Right. So, it might be like a foil treatment.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Yeah, okay.
So look, opening salvo, the cards have just come out in the last day. There's a whole bunch. Go check them out. We will keep covering them as we go. We probably don't have too many podcasts left thinking about it, Chew. next week we wouldn't be doing one, and the 21st is right on Christmas's door. So we'll keep you updated as to whether we're going to do another one. But, I mean, there's the new set channel in our Discord, which always gets filled. It's probably the busiest channel in Discord, except for maybe Limited, because, well, there's always new sets. There's always new cards to talk about.
Yeah.
So if you want to, share your thoughts or tell us what you think looks awesome, that's the place to go. Discord is definitely the spot where we all hang out, and we've got an awesome community of people. So please come and join us there if you're not already. Otherwise, you can check us out at the magicbeanscast.com. It's got links to all of the places there, but, as we said, we stream on Twitch this week. Again, Shorty won't be about for the next couple of weeks, as we said, so he won't be streaming on Monday nights. Maybe Chewy and I will try and step up either on Monday or Tuesday and, fill the gap a little bit. We will let people know what's going on there. Check out the YouTube. The game was a lot of fun that we played with the Commander deck, so, we appreciate if people go and watch that there. Otherwise, there's always Twitter if you want to see what we're up to. There's some information on there too. GP MTG Bazaar, please go and check out Josh and Pat's. They are the reason we get to, give away awesome prizes and things. The Envy, I think we said last time, there's still just ongoing problems with Arena. People are still really struggling to be able to get matches made, which has just been an absolute nightmare for everybody involved. We really do appreciate the patience of everyone in our top 8 to be able to, just understand and work through this. We will get through this league final. We will have a winner. We will do the Envy as soon as we can, but it will be in, like January or February at this stage. So it hasn't been forgotten. We have got sweet playmats. Well done on those, mate, by the way.
I'm not artistic or a graphic designer at all, but I had an image in my head and managed to...
It came out.
That came out, yeah. It doesn't always, and maybe you're a muso. It's not. You don't always, have the idea translate directly to the song. It can be difficult, and I'm sure all of our creatives out there sort of understand that. That is the skill and the challenge. But I think I got it pretty close to what I wanted and surprised myself. So
looks good. So we will be giving out all those to our Envy competitors, and as soon as we can update people on that, we will do so. Otherwise, if you want to, look, like I said, Discord, definitely the best place to come and check us all out.
Yeah, come hang out.
Otherwise, if you wanted to catch me on Twitter, you can do that. I am at JoelHill_, and Chewy, you are?
At Chewy MTG.
Take care, everyone, and we will chat to you all very soon.